Welcome to the Breakdown. I'm your host, Diane Rembert, avid reader, award-winning literary blogger, and the founder of Diamond's Literary World, which is my footprint in the literary industry. To end out Black History Month, I want to bring you The Mustard Seed, or Plain Mustard Seed by Laila Ibrahim, which is the sequel to Yellow Crocus. Just to bring you up to speed, Yellow Crocus is about a young lady named Mattie who had to leave her 4-month-old newborn with her grandfather in order to go to the big house, in order to be a wet nurse to young Lisbeth. Now, the bond that formed between these two is unlike any I've read about in the past. They were literally attached at the hip, and young Lisbeth, they both left the plantation for various reasons. Mattie because she wanted freedom for her young son Samuel and her daughter. And so her husband and Samuel had run away. And so her and her daughter Jordan went to go meet with them, and her trials and tribulations, she went through a lot to meet up with her husband. And then young Lisbeth, she married abolitionist, if you will. They did not agree on slavery, and so they left and moved to Ohio. So in Mustard Seed, now we pick up where Lisbeth and Mattie are both going back to Virginia. Two different reasons. Lisbeth is going back because she received a letter from her mother, who her family kind of disowned her when she married Matthew and moved to Ohio. So she receives a letter that her father is dying. Her mother thinks it's a good time for her to come home. Her children want to go with her, so she takes them back to they are no longer at the original house because they took a big loss when Lisbeth did not agree to marry a fellow plantation owner's son. But anyway, she goes back to the home of her brother and sister-in-law, they have ill feelings towards her as well. However, young Lisbeth learns a lot about herself and about her parents during this time. Now, Mattie is going back because she has a cousin who is still on the plantation. They're worked out now. They in exchange for hard work, they get food scraps and shelter. Mustard Seed, to me, I'm just going to go ahead and say, is the modern day version of Jubilee by Margaret Walker, where the slaves were free but they had nowhere to go, or because they were still in search of children and family members, they refused to leave. And such was the case with this family member. And so they go home, and Jordan wants to go with her. Well, she really doesn't want to go. They kind of make her go. And Samuel goes back, but of course Samuel ran away, so he has to be very careful. And what ends up happening is that the two families end up reuniting on not the actual plantation, but in the very state in which they fled because of their beliefs, if you will. And the theme throughout this book was, as long as you have the faith of a mustard seed, anything is possible. I don't want to tell you the book. All I know is it looks so dreary. Like, you were like, it can't get any worse for some of these characters. But in actuality, it did. And for young Jordan, who, she didn't remember because she was a swaddling baby, it was a brand new world to her. And the outcome there is one that I never saw coming. But, I love the way Laila Ibrahim told this story. I love her weaving of the two families. I love her storytelling ability. I could not put Mustard Seed down, and if you follow me, you know that I read Mustard Seed prior to Yellow Crocus, So I had to go back and get the backstory, and I was just floored. I love books about that era, pre-Civil War, Civil War, post-Civil War, because I like to see the transformation of characters, if you will, and just one coming into themselves. And so you saw a lot of characters in these two books coming into themselves. There is a third book coming out in this series that I believe will be out in June, if I'm not mistaken. And this one, I'm not going to tell you about it because I want you guys to go and pick up the series. I really do. Listen, February is gone, but I'm going to continue to read our rich history. Books that tell us about ourselves, because I think that they're absolutely necessary. And we need to, as we gain knowledge, share it with others. We need to educate our children. We need to educate our friends, because you'd be amazed at how many people are walking around clueless as to where we come from. Okay? So please go and get Yellow Crocus and Mustard Seed by Laila Ibrahim. This particular video is about mustard seed. I give it 5 stars. I wish I could give it 10. I really do. That's how much this book moved me. I absolutely loved it. And I hope that you'll take the time to go and read it and like it as much as I did. Until next time, happy reading and be blessed.